Welcome to the Shadow Nexus. What if I told you that everything you believe about yourself is a lie? That the identity you cling to, the personality you defend, and the story you tell yourself about who you are is nothing more than a fragile illusion? This is the ego trap, the silent prison that keeps most people stuck in a cycle of self-deception, preventing real growth, true transformation, and ultimate freedom. Carl Jung, one of the greatest minds in psychology, warned that unless we confront this illusion, we will remain forever lost in a world of our own making. So, are you ready to see through the illusion of the ego and uncover who you really are? Now let's talk about what is the ego, and why does it trap us in an illusion. The ego is the psychological construct that forms our sense of self. It's the mask we wear, the identity we build, the labels we accept, our name, our profession, our beliefs, and even our desires. But here's the truth, the ego is not you. It is a collection of past experiences, social conditioning, and unconscious fears, masquerading as your authentic self. The problem? Most people never question it. The ego creates a false sense of certainty, convincing us that we know who we are. It resists change, clings to its identity, and fears anything that threatens its existence. It tells you that you are smart or stupid, successful or a failure, worthy or unworthy. But these are just stories. The real you is buried beneath these labels, waiting to be discovered. Now let's talk about how the ego creates false identities and stops personal growth. The ego thrives on comparison, validation, and control. It feeds on the need to be right, the need to be superior, and the need to be seen in a certain way. This is why so many people become trapped in roles rather than realities: the successful businessman who feels empty inside, the social media influencer whose happiness depends on likes, the spiritual guru who secretly craves power. The ego fears the unknown. It resists growth because growth requires change, discomfort, and surrender. Instead, it constructs a world where it always wins, always knows best, and always remains in control. The result? A life of stagnation, illusion, and unfulfilled potential. Now let's talk about why most people live inside their ego without realizing it. Have you ever met someone who refuses to admit they're wrong? Who justifies toxic behavior rather than face their own flaws? Who chases success, power, or attention, yet feels deeply unfulfilled? These are signs of a person completely trapped in their ego. Most people don't even know they are prisoners. They confuse their thoughts with their true self. But you are not your thoughts. Thoughts are just passing clouds, but your true self is the sky. Until you separate the two, you will remain blind to the forces controlling you. Now let's talk about the connection between ego and suffering. Why attachment to identity creates pain. Pain comes from attachment. And the greatest attachment we have is to our identity. When the ego defines itself by success, relationships, or external validation, it becomes fragile. Any threat to its identity creates suffering. A breakup, a job loss, a rejection, these feel unbearable because they threaten the ego's sense of self. But in reality, they are just moments, not the end of you. The problem isn't the pain, it's the attachment to a self-image that never truly existed. This is why letting go is the key to inner peace. When you release the need to define yourself, to be right, to control everything, you stop suffering. You begin to experience life as it is, rather than how the ego wants it to be. Now let's talk about Carl Jung's insights on transcending the ego through individuation. Carl Jung spoke of individuation, the process of becoming your true self by integrating the hidden aspects of your psyche. This means confronting your shadow, the repressed, denied, and ignored parts of yourself. The ego resists this. It fears the shadow because it threatens the illusion of who you think you are. But true self-awareness comes only when you embrace the full spectrum of your being, your darkness and your light, your flaws and your strengths. Jung believed that most people never evolve because they never face themselves. They project their flaws onto others, blame the world for their suffering, and refuse to acknowledge their own inner conflicts. But those who dare to look within, who challenge their ego and integrate their shadow, experience something profound: freedom. Now let's talk about how breaking free from the ego can lead to true self-discovery and purpose. Once you break free from the ego's grip, something amazing happens. You stop living for validation. You stop fearing change. You no longer see life as a battle to be won, but as an experience to be lived. You discover that you are not your name, your job, your status, or your beliefs. You are something much deeper, an awareness, a consciousness, an infinite being experiencing itself. This is where true purpose is found. Not in chasing the ego's desires, but in following the path that aligns with your highest self. A path of curiosity, growth, surrender, and authenticity. Now let's talk about practical ways to recognize and overcome your own ego trap. If you're ready to break free, here are 3 things you can do. Number 1, observe your thoughts. Notice how often you seek validation, control, or superiority. The ego thrives on these. Number 2, embrace discomfort. Growth happens outside the comfort zone. Challenge your beliefs, face your fears, and question your identity. Number 3, let go of labels. Stop defining yourself by achievements, failures, or past experiences. The less you cling to an identity, the freer you become. The ego trap is the greatest illusion of all. Most people will live and die inside it, never realizing they were trapped. But you now have a choice. Stay asleep, clinging to an illusion, or wake up and discover who you really are. Which will you choose? What are your thoughts on the ego trap? Have you ever caught yourself stuck in it? Share your insights in the comments, I'd love to hear your perspective. If this video made you think, if it challenged your perspective, then don't keep it to yourself. Like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon for more deep dives into psychology, philosophy, and the human condition. Your journey to true self-discovery starts now. Are you ready? In our next video, we'll uncover another hidden psychological truth that shapes your reality, so stay tuned.